Hi everyone, this is Nick.
Hello, it's Diana.
We're with Team RCIA and we're coming to you to talk a little bit today about the catechumenate process and what we, the people that we encounter.
Mm-hmm. But first, we haven't seen you in a little bit. Yeah. So, hi.
Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving.
I know, we just got back from 2 weeks on the road or so. First, Nick and our colleague, Mary Birmingham, were presenting for the Diocese of Calgary.
We did the Team RCI Catechist School, which is a very intense focus on the role of the catechist in the catechumenate process.
Yes, and so the two of you were working with Dave and Sandy Marshall and Michelle Sieben of the, are you going to get it right?
Western Conference on the Catechumenate.
Western Conference on the Catechumenate, the WCC. Yay!
Which is the Western Conference of Canada.
Yes, and I tagged along. You guys had about, 60 people from all over Western Canada?
I think we had closer to 70.
Yeah, it was great and really good energy.
You tagged along for a mileage run.
It was my mileage run. Yes, because that's what we do around here. Oh, and I had a lovely lunch with, I'm going to forget her name. Anyway, she thought I was posting about mileage runs, and she thought I was doing like a marathon run. No. This is a mileage run in order to retain my status on my American Airlines priority points. So there you go. It was successful because after that we went to
Houston to have some family time with my parents, and so we did Norman Rockwell style Thanksgiving dinner there.
Nick did all the cooking.
I did do all the cooking.
Yes,
it was great.
But so we're back now.
Yeah, we've sort of been offline a little bit because of all the traveling and the holidaying, but we wanted to take a moment to jump on here and talk with you a little bit about some RCIA points.
Yes.
Particularly the latest blog post that's up, which was written by neither of us, was written by John McGlynn. And John writes on the site about once a month. He's got an amazing wealth of experience and knowledge about the catechumenate process, and his latest post is just really excellent, I think. So if you haven't read it, you need to go look at it. We're going to summarize a few points from it, but to get the full flavor of it, of course, it would be good if you spend some time reading it kind of closely and paying attention to what he has to say.
And I put the link to that blog post in the comments box so you can see that there.
But his focus is on a focus that's near and dear to my heart, is on treating adults like adults. And he makes the point in his post that the way that we treat and catechize adult seekers is way different than the way we treat and catechize children. And I, it seems like that would be obvious, but a lot of times when I talk with folks about what they're actually doing in their catechumenate process, it looks and feels a lot more like sort of a grade school or high school level classroom situation. And there are places where they actually take attendance. We know of one situation where they were giving tests at the end of whatever their curriculum was. And this actually happened to one person. She didn't pass the test, and so they weren't going to let her get baptized that year. And now that's kind of extreme, but it flows out of that thinking that, we're the teachers with all the information, and we're communicating information to a group of students, and it's up to the students to sort of remember what we say, master what we say, and feed back to us in some way that we recognize that they got it, and that's really not, it's not how any of us want to be treated as adults, and it's not how our seekers want to be treated.
Yeah. John opens up his article, his blog post, by saying that, we as RCIA ministers, and he's recognized this in the people that he works with, we see ourselves and we see each other as mature in our faith. We are well grounded in our faith. We understand and try to deepen our faith and live that faith. And so we see ourselves as really solid and mature in our faith. which sometimes comes across to our catechumens as though we are saying to them, you are not yet mature in your faith, you are immature in your faith. And sometimes, because so many of us have had that catechetical background and training, which was very much classroom oriented and focused on children, we translate those skills to adults who may indeed, in fact, already be mature in their faith, whether in a Catholic faith or in another Christian tradition, or even if not, the whole point of the RCIA is not about classroom style knowledge and expertise, but conversion of heart and mission in living out that faith. And so we have to shift our paradigm of how we see ourselves in relationship to the people we are walking with.
And another way that we can also talk about the purpose of the faith journey is Pope John Paul II talked about this, is that the primary goal of this whole enterprise that we call catechesis or formation is to develop a relationship with the person of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And so a sort of a childhood-based model or classroom-based model is that Jesus Christ, I can't see with my hand here, Jesus Christ is kind of up here, and then we are the catechists or the religious professionals or the religious experts who kind of know, we have that mature faith in Jesus Christ, and then we transmit that down, mediate it down to folks who don't have that faith. And that's really, it's not Jesus's model, certainly. Mm-hmm. So the model Jesus had is more like Jesus gathered a community around him, a community of disciples. So Jesus is in the center, and then all the disciples and all the seekers and all the bystanders around the outside in the center. And for Jesus, it's not like he didn't make a distinction. He kind of, was trying to empower the disciples to do a thing, do a mission. But his message of relationship, of joy, of peace, of healing was for everybody in the circle. And he didn't make a distinction as far as that was concerned. Mm-hmm. And so we should think of ourselves as being in that circle with the seekers, sort of hearing together, companioning, accompanying together in hearing that message of Jesus.
Yeah. That sense of companioning together rather than, transmitting information or ideas or even maturity of faith to another. John didn't mention this in his blog post, but I see the outcome of that kind of paradigm where we're going to transmit the information manifested in the sense that we have to put everyone together and we're all going to work and move at the same pace,
right.
And we're
like
all going to begin at the same time, and we're all going to end at the same time. And if you miss any part of that schedule, then somehow you need to make something up.
Yep.
And take a makeup class. John mentioned that, the sense that treating adults as adults is recognizing that adults have many priorities. Yep. And not denigrating any of those priorities, because they in fact are there. They have come forward and asked for help in their own faith, and so they have made that a priority. But they rightfully have many others, and we have to respect that as well. And so if we can treat adults more like adults, we can get rid of this got to begin together, got to go through everything at the same time and have to end together mentality, as well as get away from the sense that there is a set schedule, and if you miss anything, you're missing out or you're out of luck. Right?
If you think of the image of Jesus at the center of a circle, and people come closer to the center of the circle or staying in the circle longer or being in the circle all the time. And other people are more like on the outer edge and they're checking in, and they dip a toe in and dip a toe out. And it really depends upon the circumstances of each individual. The RCIA actually says this in paragraphs 4 and 5, that this whole process is going to vary for each person depending upon their cooperation with the grace of God, the circumstances of daily life, the ability of the ministers, that all these things go into into making this process valuable and important for each individual in their own individual way. And it's much like any of our other relationships. If you think about when you met your spouse, or think about your best friend, or even your relationship with your children, all those relationships are unique and individualized, and you can't sort of say each one follows a set pattern. The pattern is unique for each of those relationships. So the relationship that a seeker is going to have with the person of Jesus Christ is going to be unique to that person.
Now, John does say in his blog post that this doesn't mean that we should get rid of communal kind of gatherings where we all get together and talk about a specific focus of faith or anything like that. But he learned early on when he was still wearing this sort of classroom hat and this I have an agenda and I have a topic that we're going to focus on thing. He learned early on that oftentimes when he's working with adults, their needs, their desire for what they wanted to talk about didn't quite necessarily match up with what he had planned to talk about. And at first he was kind of frustrated and sort of confused by why aren't we talking about what I plan to talk about kind of thing. But then he realized, actually, this is better, because when we treat adults as adults, we recognize that they're in charge of their learning. They are responsible and they are invested in what they want to learn. And we have to honor and recognize that. And John makes a great connection. He said, this is actually mystagogical formation, because what's happening in mystagogy is that the Spirit is in charge in the lives of each person. And so each person will raise questions based on their experience, their encounter with Christ during the week, whether at the church or in their home or at work or on the street. They will raise questions, and that will be the direction for where the Spirit is leading us to go deeper. And that's part of mystagogical formation. Not our agenda, but the Spirit's agenda. And so don't be afraid to go off of your schedule when you're working with adults, because adults will raise their needs, and you are mature in faith. And so you do have the skills to address what that person needs. When they raise a question that you didn't prepare for, you can speak from your own experience, and you can together explore deeper what the teaching of the church is.
Diana, when you said that part about the Spirit has already been teaching them, that's really part of our Catholic doctrine, is that we're all born, made in the image and likeness of God. And if that's true, it means we come into the world, kind of from the moment of conception, filled with the Holy Spirit. And that Spirit is not just dormant in us. The Spirit is actively teaching, leading, guiding that person throughout their life. So they don't really come to us as blank slates. And even if they can't name their experience as spiritual, or their experience as godlike, or they don't have the language or the vocabulary or the structure to say what this urging is that they have that drew them to us, that's John's point about, we do a mystagogical reflection. We help them reflect on the mystery of their own lives. And through that gradual process that's going to vary for each person, they'll begin to recognize all the places where the Spirit has touched them throughout their lives and brought them to this point. And so for us, it's not so matter of us pouring information into an empty vessel. It's rather helping people who come filled with lots of spiritual experience already, and helping them recognize that and join that to our spiritual experience and the body of Christ and the story of the church, primarily, as Pope John Paul II said, in recognizing that relationship with the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I think especially at the beginning of the liturgical year, Happy New Year, by the way, everyone. Many people are somehow sort of in this mentality of starting up a new
Yeah.
year, a new year of quote unquote classes, of formation, or a new group of people. And that's all well and good, but maybe at this beginning of the new year, of the new liturgical year, we can start to put on a different paradigm of what we're doing during this year A cycle of Matthew here. So maybe one thing you can do as we begin this new year is to watch your language about how you talk about these gatherings.
A New Year's resolution.
Yes. So, this is just off the cuff. Maybe instead of saying RCIA classes or RCIA, topics and schedules, just think about, this is our walking and journeying together, our accompanying these catechumens and candidates in this journey. And this accompaniment doesn't happen just on Wednesday night, 7:30. It happens anytime you encounter them throughout the week. And so maybe just do that one little thing. Start thinking of what we are doing as ministers, not as class, not as teaching, not as giving them information and topics, but walking with them throughout the next months and years ahead in their own experiences of Christ in their life.
And if you want bonus points for going even a step further, I would say even stop referring to what you're doing as RCIA. Because when we call it by initials like that, it's a little insider language, a little jargony, and it also makes it sound like a program. We have an RCIA program, we have an RCIA class. Instead, if you call it, like Diana said, if you call it a faith journey, if you call it accompaniment, if you call it an encounter with the person of Jesus, something along that line, it gets more at the description of what's actually going on, and doesn't sound so much like something we got from a publisher and we're opening up, we're going to follow these steps and everybody's going to start and end at the same time.
It's initiation preparation.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're preparing people to be initiated into Christ, into the mission of Christ. And so mission preparation, how's that?
Yeah.
Discipleship preparation.
Yeah.
We're making disciples, so there's so many ways that we can rethink what we're doing so that we're honoring the work of the Spirit in each person's life and recognizing that we're not the experts. We are simply co-journeyers on this mission and co-workers with one another. So anyways, any other insights or thoughts?
No, I'm going to go make up my Christmas list so Santa will bring me the things I want.
Yes. Were you good this year?
No, so I'm probably not going to get what I want.
Well, we are constantly, but especially during the season of Thanksgiving and giving thanks, we are so grateful for each of you and for the good work that you do Sunday after Sunday, not just at this New Year time, but every moment of the year. And you don't get thanked nearly often enough. And so thank you.
Thanks, really. What she said, everything you folks are doing is what makes the church, is what makes disciples. And so it's just really an honor to be associated with you in this ministry.
Yeah, so thanks for letting us be part of your ministry and your parishes and communities. I know we should take one of these Tuesdays and just read some of the comments that you send us by email or on Facebook or on the road when we're doing these institutes, because we are humbled by how much you rely on the work that we do and allow us to share that with you. So thanks. All right.
All right, everyone. We'll try to check in. We're going on a little vacation. Maybe we'll be able to check in from the road.
Yes, it's going to be a surprise. Yes, it's going to be so exciting. We're not ready, but we're going to go. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care. Bye-bye, everyone.